the Strait of Hormuz.
The Strait of Hormuz.
The Strait of Hormuz.
The Strait of Hormuz.
What happens when a single narrow waterway holds the entire global economy hostage? The United States and Iran started a conflict in 2026, which escalated into a strategic battle that involved both missile attacks and airstrikes. In this video, we break down the hidden systems behind the blockade, the economic shockwaves, and the calculated plan to break it. The Strait of Hormuz serves as the most exposed maritime route of modern times, connecting Persian Gulf nations to all sea routes leading to the Arabian Sea. The location provides strategic value because the site has extreme physical limitations. The channel has a total width that measures between 35 and 60 miles, yet its actual navigable section is far more narrow. Modern shipping operates through a traffic separation scheme, which uses 2 inbound and 2 outbound lanes that each measure only 2 miles wide with a 2-mile buffer zone between them. The situation creates a major operational bottleneck because vessels face difficulties in deviating from their paths due to the dangers of grounding in shallower areas or entering into hostile Iranian territorial waters. Iranian area denial operations receive enhanced effectiveness through geographical factors, which serve as their primary operational strength. The international economy depends on this narrow passage because the strait reaches a depth between 200 and 330 feet, which allows very large crude carriers to operate at full capacity. Ships traditionally used Omani territorial waters to navigate away from Iranian coastal areas, yet Iran maintains its authority over northern waters, which enables it to create regional security risks. Tehran does not require a traditional blue water navy to achieve a blockade. It simply needs to utilize shore-based missiles, fast attack craft, or naval mines to make transit prohibitively dangerous. The Persian Gulf has been closed off from all access since March 2026, when more than 110 oil tankers became trapped inside this geographic trap. The world experiences its biggest energy market disturbance since the 1970s because a regional power has created conditions which enable it to control the global economy through its physical territory. The 2026 crisis has its origins in the internal breakdown of the Islamic Republic, which occurred during late 2025. The government faced its most significant revolt since 1979 after widespread domestic protests which began because of economic mismanagement and the real market crash, and the water scarcity situation. The United States began its largest military expansion in the Middle East during the past 30 years because of human rights violations and increasing nuclear weapons capabilities, which followed the violent suppression that Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei ordered. The region received a deployment of extensive air, naval, and missile defense systems during the entire month of January and February of 2026. The United States, together with Israel, initiated their joint operation named Operation Epic Fury, with Operation Roaring Lion on February 28, 2026. The first 2 days of the operation resulted in more than 1,000 target hits, which included the successful elimination of Ali Khamenei and the complete destruction of the IRGC leadership. The coalition conducted between 8,000 and 9,000 precision strikes by the end of the 4th week of March. The B-1 and B-2 stealth bombers used 2,000-pound bunker buster bombs to attack the Natanz nuclear facility, while A-10 Warthogs and AH-64 Apache helicopters conducted operations against fast attack boats in shallow water areas. The operation resulted in tremendous financial losses because it consumed $11.3 billion in unexpected costs during its initial 6 days because advanced munitions had a rapid consumption rate. The government investigation into this enormous spending has raised questions about the military objectives of the operation and the potential for ground troops to invade. The Strait of Hormuz functions as the main transportation route for international energy resources because it provides the only waterway access through which Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Qatar, and the UAE can export their oil products. The strait received an average oil flow of 20.9 million barrels per day during early 2026, while LNG shipments reached 11.4 billion cubic feet per day. The blockade creates economic damage through 3 interconnected processes: price transmission, logistics expenses, and structural changes. Brent crude oil prices reached $108.66 per barrel by mid-March 2026, while some experts predicted that prices could rise to $300 per barrel if the closure continued. The situation is actually an insurance blockade because warships create a physical blockade at sea. The introduction of stealth mines and drones has created a situation where maritime insurers cannot assess risks, which results in premium costs that become unmanageable or a complete withdrawal of war risk insurance. The 110 tankers remain stuck because they cannot obtain the essential financial backing required for their journey. Asian markets experience critical vulnerability while the United States and Europe maintain some protection through their domestic manufacturing. The strait is used by China, Japan, South Korea, and India, which together account for 75% of oil and 84% of LNG that passes through it. Japan depends on the Middle East for more than 90% of its crude oil imports, while South Korea obtains 70% of its crude oil from that region. The global distribution of petrochemical feedstocks, which include LPG and naphtha, creates a risk of total disruption to the worldwide supply chains for plastics and fertilizers. The Saudi East-West pipeline and other pipelines exist, but their total capacity of 3.5 to 5.5 million barrels per day cannot replace the 20.9 million barrels that remain stuck behind the Iranian blockade. The IRGC built an extensive A2/AD network system because it understood that it could not match the US Navy through direct military engagement. The Shahed 136 series of kamikaze drones serves as the main element of this military strategy. The drones use modified motorcycle engines and commercial parts and cost only $20,000 to produce one unit. The mathematical comparison shows an extreme imbalance because one US Patriot PAC-3 missile costs about $4 million to intercept drones, which create a 200 to 1 cost difference. The United States used approximately 800 Patriot interceptors during the first 2 weeks of Operation Epic Fury, while a previous 12-day mission resulted in the loss of 25% of all US THAAD missiles. The Iranian Navy developed the Azdar unmanned underwater vehicle, which operates as an independent torpedo through its silent-running lithium-ion electric propulsion system. The system enables the vehicle to produce minimal sounds, which makes it extremely hard for sonar systems to detect its presence. The Azdar submarine system enables Iran to conduct hidden operations against commercial and naval targets, which operate in the restricted underwater areas of the strait for a maximum duration of 4 days. The underwater environment provides substantial advantages to the asymmetrical aggressor because it enables him to launch surprise attacks from hidden underwater positions. By producing large quantities of these inexpensive technologies, Iran achieves unilateral disarmament of the United States, which results in American military capabilities decreasing because they must handle low-cost equipment in the Persian Gulf. The naval mine serves as Iran's most potent weapon. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps succeeded in mining the strait with advanced devices which United States forces attempted to eliminate by destroying 44 Iranian ships and their mine-laying facilities. The Maham 3 and Maham 7 represent two main designs which have been found. The Maham 3 turns into a 300-kilogram moored buoyant mine, which operates at depths of 100 meters to detect ships through acoustic and magnetic sensors that create a 3-meter detection zone. The Maham 7 functions as a 220-kilogram bottom influence mine, which lies on the seafloor to hunt medium-sized ships and submarines. The IRGC possesses exclusive knowledge about the locations where these mines were strategically positioned. Iran establishes a Tehran-approved route through minefields, which allows them to inspect Larak Island. The Iranian government transformed the safe corridor into a maritime protection racket, which made more than 26 vessels pay $2 million transit fees to the IRGC for each trip, including a Chinese state-owned tanker. The strait stays open for Iranian war supporters because of the selective closure system, but becomes a deadly barrier which prevents Western-aligned ships from passing through. The military strategy employs geographical features together with insurance risk factors to produce effects which traditional naval power cannot duplicate. The primary operational challenge, which the US Navy faces at present, stems from its critical lack of specialized mine countermeasures (MCM) capabilities. The Navy maintained strong operational capability through its 14 Avenger-class minesweepers, which used wooden and fiberglass hulls to reduce their magnetic footprint. The military authorities had to face the decommissioning process because they failed to maintain the fleet while choosing to focus on great power competition. The last 4 ships, which operated in Bahrain, were transported through cargo vessels and retired during the peak of Iranian tensions in January 2026. The Navy relies on its current operational system, which consists of modern autonomous systems from Independence-class littoral combat ships. The system uses 2 systems, which include the Airborne Laser Mine Detection System and the Knifefish UUV. The Triton AUSV operates on wind and solar energy to conduct seafloor mapping operations, which last for 30 days, while using its mini UUVs to conduct autonomous detonations. The technology is state-of-the-art, but system capacity suffers from extreme limitations because the US only possesses a small portion of essential LCS vessels which operate in that area. The military emergency required to redeploy resources from Indo-Pacific operations has reduced US military strength against China, while the US military handles the Gulf crisis. The process to clear a narrow channel requires multiple weeks because search operations need to continue for several days to scan each mile of the area. The military had to change its entire battle plan because they could not keep using expensive missile systems against low-cost drones. The Pentagon implemented a policy change in March 2026, which allowed them to accept support from Ukrainian military experts who specialized in countering Shahed-style drone swarms. More than 200 Ukrainian experts were sent to allied military bases located in Qatar, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Jordan, and Kuwait to improve air defense system procedures. The specialists combine their exclusive Ukrainian tracking software with the existing air defense system that protects the region. The software provides access to flight paths and target predictions through protected commercial iPads, which minimizes the mental demands placed on operators. The coalition started using Ukrainian Sting interceptor drones as their primary aerial defense equipment. The FPV drones have a unit price of $2,500, which enables the coalition to destroy Iranian swarms through direct contact because the drones resist typical electronic interference. The military has seen its most important operational change through this shift from missile-based defense systems to drone-based weapon systems. The system protects against Iran's economic warfare strategy by keeping advanced interceptors such as Patriot and THAAD available for actual ballistic missile threats while discarding expendable loitering weapons. This partnership demonstrates how contemporary military conflicts have transformed into experimental fields for fast military strategy development across different combat zones. The Breaking the Gate operational concept provides a framework to reopen the strait without a politically toxic ground invasion, utilizing 5 mutually reinforcing lines of effort, LOE. The first line of effort, LOE-1, aims to continuously eliminate and control all shore-based A2AD systems, which include IRGC missile bases and coastal batteries. The second line of effort, LOE-2, takes advantage of a geographic and ethnic weakness because 3 to 4 million Avazi Arabs live in the southern Iranian littoral area where they constitute a marginalized group that controls more than 90% of Iran's oil production capacity. The coalition can establish a two-front war against the IRGC by providing weapons and support to the Avazi insurgencies, which will force the IRGC to move its resources away from the maritime blockade. The third level of effort, LOE-3, requires the construction of a protected maritime route, which will receive direct security support from stationed guards who will protect commercial tanker ships. The operation requires the deployment of Aegis-equipped destroyers and frigates to create a defense network that provides oil tankers from all threats, which will enable insurers to resume their coverage. The fourth level of effort, LOE-4, establishes a supply route bypass system which enables Amani ports Dhaka, Salalah, and Saudi overland pipelines to function as alternative supply routes. The operation functions as a Berlin airlift mission, which enables minefield clearance operations to proceed while protecting against economic pressure. The fifth level of effort, LOE-5, uses a blockade to turn against Tehran. Iran imports 30% of its gasoline and 40% of its wheat, despite possessing energy resources, because Bandar Abbas handles 85% of its container operations through its port. The regime must understand that it will face an existential crisis if it continues to close the border, from which the counter-blockade will bring about the Real's rapid decline. Military planners use Operation Epic Fury and Operation Praying Mantis as their primary points of comparison between the two operations, which occurred in 1988. The U.S. Navy destroyed the entire Iranian fleet during a single day of conventional battle, which the conflict started after USS Samuel B. Roberts hit an Iranian mine. The Iranian Navy lost 50% of its active fleet when Iran lost one frigate and multiple gunboats, which resulted in a total defeat of Iranian forces and brought an end to the tanker war. The 1988 model should not be used to develop plans for 2026 because it presents a dangerous falsehood. Iran developed a decentralized A2AD system which uses asymmetric warfare tactics because the country understood the military lessons from its previous defeat. The destruction of more than 120 to 140 Iranian naval vessels, which Central Command destroyed in 2026 Southwest Asia, marks the first major naval elimination since World War II. The military operation destroyed Iranian fast attack boats and fiberglass drone vessels, which have low value while leaving multi-million-dollar military ships undamaged. The IRGC maintains its combat readiness through rapid deployment of additional low-cost aerial drones and underwater vehicles, which can be launched from their concealed coastal base. The immediate threat requires traditional kinetic dominance to deal with the situation, but this approach fails to provide the necessary speed to restore straight operations and military deterrence. The war has evolved from a battle between naval forces in the open sea to a long-term conflict which focuses on asymmetric warfare through gradual resource destruction. The ongoing military operation has resulted in diplomatic channels which Oman and Pakistan established through their mediation efforts. Oman has asked for an immediate ceasefire because it believes that economic consequences from the conflict will produce global economic instability. The United States has issued a demanding 15-point proposal which requires Iran to eliminate its nuclear program and return its enriched uranium while allowing complete IAEA inspection rights. Iranian hardliners have rejected the proposed terms as maximalist because they want all military operations to stop and require both monetary reimbursement and formal acknowledgement of Iranian control over the Strait of Hormuz, which they use to establish illegal transit charges. The axis of upheaval makes negotiations more challenging because it includes the three conflicts. Iran receives weapons from Russia and China, which includes ballistic missile parts and intelligence information, and advanced air defense equipment. The external assistance enabled Iran to rebuild its military strength while maintaining its ability to retaliate. The Hormuz crisis escalates from a local conflict into an international proxy war, which affects competing interests between major powers. The situation has not made any advancements since March 2026. The United States wants to start diplomatic talks but has deployed its military forces to create a secured area, while JSOC units stand ready to conduct nuclear and missile-based operations if diplomatic efforts collapse. The solution to this blockade will determine energy distribution, establish American military capacity boundaries, and the future of deterrence strategies throughout the century. The 2026 Strait of Hormuz crisis proves a terrifying reality. Conventional military supremacy is no longer a guarantee of strategic victory. We are witnessing a fundamental paradigm shift where a regional power armed with $20,000 drones and silent underwater vehicles can successfully hold a $100 trillion global economy hostage. The United States and its coalition partners possess the kinetic power to destroy, yet as the billion-dollar price tag of Operation Epic Fury demonstrates, sinking cheap fiberglass boats and downing modified motorcycle engines does not secure shipping lanes. The 1988 playbook is dead. As we stand at this diplomatic and military stalemate in late March 2026, the world holds its breath. The standoff is no longer just about the 110 trapped tankers or the price of Brent crude. It is a proxy battle against the axis of upheaval, testing the limits of American deterrence. Will the 5-point strategy force Tehran to back down? Or will JSOC operators be forced to ignite a broader nuclear-shadowed conflict? One thing is absolutely certain. The Strait of Hormuz is no longer just a choke point for global energy. It is the definitive proving ground for the future of global power. If you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe.